look, while this was happening in Sydney, the federal Labor government that should be doing something about this, well, they were just involved in muckraking, trying to portray Peter Dutton as a protector of pedophiles. It was just an implausible claim that just won't fly. Dutton, unsurprisingly, is calling for an apology, but Labor keep going on with this stuff. Have a look at how some of it unfolded today.
On Monday, Speaker, we saw the opposition, led by the Leader of the Opposition, come into the chamber and vote to protect pedophiles over children. That's what they did.
Anika Wells? And I think we've got Anika Wells here from this morning.
The Home Affairs Minister has accused Peter Dutton of being a protector of pedophiles. Do you agree with that?
Yes, and not only that, but this whole mess that we're facing and trying to clean up now didn't start a couple of weeks ago when the High Court decision was handed down. It started a couple of years ago when Peter Dutton was the minister responsible and made a decision to allow NZYQ to apply for a visa instead of deporting him.
Blah, 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 blah. I'm just staggered by that, Amanda. Such a despicable claim, obviously nonsense. And she said, yeah, I'm all on that because guess what? They're my team and I have to back in this outrageous slur.
I feel like every time I'm sitting here, I'm talking about the lack of accountability when it comes to politicians. And it's like, well, no. He did it. And I feel like I'm in a schoolyard. But she did that 2 years ago, so it's their fault. And this, instead of actually, this is the situation. We should have been on top of it. We're going to fix it. And moving forward, we are going to be the leaders and do this. The second you attack someone or throw someone under the bus for something you should have been aware of, instantly credibility goes and your leadership character's gone.
Just incredible. Now, I said last night on this very program, Caleb, that they've always portrayed Peter Dutton as the hard man who's unelectable because he's so hard. They've suddenly realised that's a hell of a strength compared to their weakness. So they're just trying to tear him down with outrageous slurs.
Well, he's gone from the bloke who wants everyone out of the country to the bloke who wants to keep all these people in the country. I mean, can you imagine the strategists who were sitting around in the Labor meeting having their coffee in the morning, bit hungover, and they're like, OK, how are we going to get Dutton here? I know, we're going to call him a paedophile protector. That'll really work, right? I mean, this NZYQ, whatever the name was that the High Court gave him, he's stateless. Yeah. Where were we meant to deport him to?
Can't deport him anywhere.
He's not a citizen of anywhere, so we couldn't actually send him anywhere. And as the government well knows, because they tried to get him out of the country to avoid all of this hoo-ha, they couldn't do it. No one else wanted to take him. So where was Peter Dutton meant to send him?
But Peter Dutton kept him in detention.
Exactly.
I think this is a distraction technique because they've put so many pieces of legislation forward in the last week in Parliament, including the Digital Identity Bill, and they don't want anyone looking at that or questioning that. So this is a huge distraction.
Oh, no, I think this is priority number one is national security, surely. And I think your point about them going the pedophile attack, they say that under parliamentary privilege, right? They can say whatever they like. Anika Wells is stupid enough to say it outside Parliament. She must be sort of nervously waiting for a letter from Peter Dutton's lawyers now. But Nick, the other point here, talking about it, the case that brought all this to a head through the High Court, NZYQ or whatever, he came in on a boat under Labor. He was part of Labor's weak borders. And guess what? The whole time the coalition was in government, he remained in detention. He's out. Sure, according to a High Court decision, but a High Court decision that the Labor government completely stuffed because they told the court, we don't think we can ever deport him. They never should have made that concession.
That's right, but I think the public are onto this, Chris. You know, they know that Peter Dutton has really been leading the country in essence for the past fortnight because he's the only one who's actually taking the correct line on this, and Labor end up following him. As for this, friend of paedophiles line, I think what this shows, that Labor's big game is character assassination, right? They look for a little chink in somebody's character that they can put a blast through and break them apart. They managed it with Scott Morrison. They're not doing it with Peter Dutton. They have not been able to lay a glove on him really as opposition leader. And now I think this is a sign of desperation. But it's really not going to work. And I think we're in that. You can see Peter Dutton's ratings are rising, Anthony Albanese's are falling. I think the effect this will have will just push people further to support Peter Dutton.
Yeah, I think trying to attack Peter Dutton on the basis of his toughness is like trying to attack Brad Pitt on his looks. You know, it's like, it ain't going to work. Just briefly, you get priority on this one, Amanda. Confirmation coming out from AEMO today that more than a quarter of Australians are finding it hard to pay their power bills. This must be impacting small business drastically.
Massively. They're telling me that they can't handle the supply costs. They can't handle even the gas bills double, electricity bill. And then they obviously have to let go of staff. And if they can't stay open, the customers stop coming, and the customers are not already cut back because they can't afford the food. And they blame the small business if it's a hospitality venue. And they're shutting down. And they're like, well, where am I going to go? Then they have to go get educated to get a job. And then it hits the family. And that family's then got that cost. They're actually very stressed. And all things are leading to 2024 being potentially the hardest year for small businesses, and all they're doing is being bombarded with constant legislation changes and taxes and costs, and they're not going to survive.
We'll keep on it here for sure. Thanks for joining us, Amanda and Caleb. Caleb, you'll be back at 10 o'clock. And Nick Cater, I'm still trying to recover from somehow chucking in a popular culture reference about Brad Pitt. I've surprised myself. But that's all the time we've got for the panel. Thanks very much.